Somebody sounded very much. But it wasn't. Between all of these. You get caught with a violation of communication. But yeah, okay. All right, so let's see.
Do we get started?
No.
So welcome everyone to the October 2024 meeting of the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. I'm Jeremy N2 ZLQ president. So as normal, we will go around with introductions.
Yeah, anyway.
I'm Brian.
That's a pretty nice. Yes, yeah.
Alan came to one.
And welcome to anyone joining us online, whether you're joining us live or joining us from the future. All right, so let's see. We did have the PAQ so party this past weekend. Band conditions were pretty challenging. So the weather was pretty nice, but we did get about 6 QSOs. We got about 30 or so counties. So our record from last year will certainly stand for one more year, but we had some fun getting out there, got to try out some new things. So let's see, repeaters. Dennis, you want to tell us?
Definitely have them.
All right.
Well, the only thing I was talking before the meeting started, Barbie repeater is back up. 444,050, our fusion repeater, but we had a little technical glitch there having to do with phase noise. There, by putting an additional filtering on the transmitter. Some phase noise. I mean, phase noise is running around minus 90 dB either one, or up south of minus 27. So that's just background. So we really dodged the bullet there because apparently the public service repeaters at the hospital weren't working. But HD's been dead and everything else. In fact, WN3A job for they got support. We still have to pay for but still basket something because there was another fellow there, so that's fine. So all repeaters are running. I'm going to be down at Darby on Friday to reinstall, not install, but to swap out the duplexer. The original duplexer dates from the original repeater from the early 1980s. Has a 2.5 dB loss, and it's probably corroded like you don't believe. I've been there for 40 or 50 years. So we're going to replace it with a new one, which has only 1 dB loss, and that's the job for Friday. And I'm going to think about this and possibly light some candles because I may turn the 220 repeater on, see if there's any, if it disturbs anything. I'll find out. We bought a brand new one and we were going to eventually turn it on, but never got around to turning it on. Nobody's complaining about it. And when we do turn it on, it'll be frosting for me.
Right, thanks, Dennis. You want to tell us about the holiday party?
We should definitely have one of those. I've scheduled it. I will check with Square. Something around the middle of November. I did check with it in August. So I will be getting out the circulating start.
That's the second Saturday, the 12th or something like that. We were taking it. Right, thanks, Dennis. Let's go over to Jim. We got public service and we got elections.
Well, first of all, public service, it looks like it's too tight right. You look at the veteran. About the I haven't heard of things from them either, so. But I've heard several times from Rad and really they enjoy being there. Anybody that can turn on, I mean, already that would be there, but some can't be there, so As far as elections go, I sent out notes if anybody else wanted to get on. We have two open. I didn't get any further, so. I'll give it a few more days. You don't have to send it out right away.
Yeah. It was like a couple of weeks, that's good.
Yeah. So, but everything's ready to go. All I have to do is push a button and we're good to go.
You know who's signed up so far to run?
I guess I could tell. Is that allowed? Jeremy for president. I'm vice president, unless somebody else wants it. Secretary Brian, Lou, the treasurer. A member at large, we have a new person, his name is John Brosman, W3B. It's on the ballot for a member at large. Ned wanted to step back, so I talked to this gentleman. He's a good guy, and he's. Oh, yeah, quite a few years. He's really good. So I think we'll all be pleased with that. And of course, Dennis Technical Services. I'm still under public service, so I have to. Jeremy's gonna stay programs chairman. And we have two vacant, public relations and member services. As far as member services, we can all be part of member services. We try to get new members. I know Dennis, I hear him all the time, trying to get people. Trying to get people. Yeah, so. Any questions on that? And you'll see them come out in a few weeks.
Great, thanks, Jim. Let's see, Brian, you want to tell us about VE?
I sent out a email to all the members to the list of volunteer members. I've got several replies back, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the response. We have our next session on 2nd of November, and already we have 5 candidates. Each one of them is going to channel.
Excellent, thanks. Ready to go, what else? We do have a breakfast coming up, that's this Saturday, correct? That'll be at Andy Steiner, right off exit 18 on 476. That's 9 AM on Saturday, so by all means, come on out, it's usually a great time. Ready, anything else for the good of the club? Yeah, quick business meeting.
Did we get the treasurer's report?
Yeah. We have money here.
Here we go. Currently in the bank, we have $18,840.00. I still haven't paid Bob's expenses, mainly because I haven't seen him yet, but he did say send them to the PO box. I haven't checked the PO box. See if they're there. So it'll be a little bit less once we get his expenses from the hands. We have 83 members on the.
Great.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, there's enough money there to pay us.
Crew day in progress. It's yours if you want it.
Trust me, I try to
Some clubs, this club and other clubs, when we're all called strong toward the workers, which means the president can't buy them. Get a little bit of protection. Assessments.
I mean, I can't go out and buy that 7610.
Well, we did buy a 991A.
Yes. Well, I didn't buy it. All right, I'm ready to think anything else. In terms of programs, I'm looking forward to November. We're gonna have a group from the Jim Fisher Memorial Digital Association, Digital Network Association. So they're gonna tell us about mesh networking. We do have meeting dates set up for 2025, and we have this room reserved for next year. So that'll be nice. I think this has been a great location for us. Looking forward to being back here. Yeah, thanks to Karen and to Ron for us. All right, so that brings us to this evening's program. We're proud to have back one of our returning champions, Alan Johnston, KU2Y from Villanova University. And he's going to tell us about the latest with amateur radio at Villanova. Please join me in welcoming Alan.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be back here. Faces here. And so I'm going to talk about things that we've been doing at the Amateur Radio Club at Villanova, just down the road. And I also brought some of my toys too, but I'll talk to you about some of them, some of the educational programs we do. This is primarily through my work in with AMSAT. AMSAT is a Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation. It's been launching amateur radio satellites for over 50 years now. And I'm their vice president for educational relations. Some kind of because their outreach, STEM, science, technology, engineering outreach. So I just have a short presentation. I put together 3 other presentations for this week. This weekend is the AMSAT Space Symposium. So tomorrow I fly to Tampa, Florida. So I have a board of directors presentation and then 2 presentations. So this is my shorter presentation. But anyway, so feel free to ask any questions in the end, because I don't have that much. I guess I can reach over here, right?
I gotta click.
Oh, you gotta click this. All right, that could work. Okay. So as I said, we're going to talk about some of the things that the club has been doing, including the high altitude launches. And then the latter part we'll talk about the CubeSat simulator, which is what this is. It's an educational model that mimics a real satellite. Okay, so I was going through my notes. I think this is my 4th time presenting to the club. You can believe that. The earliest one, by the way, I'm not blocking it. Okay. February 2020 was the first one that I found. And I remember I brought my toys to that as well. I showed off the original CubeSat simulator. And this was just after the Amateur Radio Club got reformed, because it had been kind of dormant for a few years. The trustee had retired, but nothing had expired. And so we were able to, I was able to become the trustee, and we were able to reconnect with the ARRL. The students wrote a new charter for the organization and basically got things going. So that was good. And I noticed on the slide there, the first president there, Lauren, she of course graduated. She's doing her PhD in physics at the University of Denver, Boulder, where she is right now. And at that point, we had a grant to build a satellite and an HF station. We hadn't actually done it yet, but we had the money. Also, the Villanova University also formed a CubeSat club that I'm also the faculty advisor for. And one of the things that I noticed, the last item there says Ambasat 1 Sprite mission sometime in 2020. Well, here's a spoiler, it didn't happen in 2020. But I'm going to talk about it tonight, so I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Third sub-level, first major goal. You got a grant to build a satellite?
Yeah.
Is that a CubeSats?
Yeah, exactly. It's a VHF, UHF station for doing those things. Yeah, yeah, I have a picture.
I'm gonna say you want to totally launch it. HF satellite.
Well, actually, there have been satellites with HF.
Yeah, over 10 meters.
Yeah, they've been fun. So October 2020, actually the students did most of this presentation on Zoom. I see some familiar faces now. You all looked a bit younger back then, but that was fun. I remember that presentation. And then I think the last one was March of last year. Although I don't remember too much about this presentation, but maybe you do. But I looked through the slides and I picked out this one. So on the left was our satellite antenna there with the VHF, UHF with the ASL rotor. And then on the right is how it looked one day after a windstorm. So anyway, so we officially have an amateur radio station after our. So anyway, that's where we were last time.
I wanted to look at it too, while we did a temple, just put up those windows from YouTube
Right,
with in preamplifiers, it's just a little bit more power. When you follow again.
it's true. It's true, it's much less maintenance, yeah. Okay, so in terms of what the club has been doing, we haven't been super active, but we have had a continual president, we've had a small amount of operating. We typically always operate field day. We've done winter field day once, which was fun. And we also have done the school and club round, which is actually going on right now. We're not actually operating this week, because it was just too crazy. We've also enjoyed, operating for the 13 colonies event. Heart Radio Club, operates WM3PEM, the bonus station. I guess I believe that WM3PEM. So that's been fun because they had a push, I guess about 3 years ago, they had a big push to try to get all bands and all modes. And one of them was satellite, and none of them had satellite operations. So they kind of outsourced it to our club, which is nice. So we get to, for those ones, we get to be the fox. We get to call CQ and then have the pilot. I think one pass we did 13 contacts on one pass, which is pretty good. Yeah,
Get in trouble doing one.
well, this,
I'm doing 3.
well, this was RS-44, which had 95, or you can often get 15, 16 minutes on a pass with it. So it's so it's a little, it's also linear satellite, so there's multiple channels, FM, where everybody's stepping.
Field things, so it's nuts.
Yeah, but 13 colonies is pretty popular these days. Basically, all the colonies. So people were getting all colonies plus at least the Philadelphia bonus. I don't know if anybody got the France or the UK bonus. That'd be, yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be. But anyway, that's fun. We've done a number of high balloon launches, and I'll tell you about our latest one. Which we did last week. And over the years, we've had 7 students be licensed. My favorite story is from Hamvention a few years back. One of my students, he was studying, and he's like, I'm gonna try extra, and he had no license, so he sat 3 exams and went from 0 to extra in one day.
That's high.
Yeah, he's also doing his PhD. Well, he's doing it in electrical engineering. Or is it physics? Yeah, that was fun. And I think we have 5 faculty licensed. The numbers are kind of dropping. But yeah, so we have some.
Bob Caverly is retiring.
Exactly. I do love Bob. We love playing. Yeah. And students in the past have been to Hamvention and also been to the MSAT Symposium. And I'm hoping to get, we have a new club president, Mio, who's very enthusiastic. So I'm hoping that she can come to Hamvention next year.
How do you get satellites converted? Yeah.
It used to be. Sure. So they're making one. Sheet. It hasn't successfully done. Right. So typically what's known as a launch near, which means you're not the primary payment. Right. There's some big multi-million-dollar satellite that's really paying for the launch. And then after they launch the big satellite, then they shoot out a bunch of small deep satellites. Well, it used to be no charge. It used to be if you just had contacts, you could get your satellite bolted on. But now it's very much an industry. So there's, you basically purchase a launch and there's aggregators. So they buy space on a, say, a SpaceX rocket, and then they resell it to all the different providers.
You're talking like Valpers.
Yeah, it's a big business. The prices come down a lot. It used to cost maybe $100,000 to even get a small satellite like this in orbit. But now 50,000, you might even get it. There's quite a lot of competition. And there's even startup companies who their only business is launching small satellites.
Where?
So you can win free launches from NASA. If you have an education program, they sponsor a bunch of them. Otherwise, universities and other groups fundraise. And so, for instance, AMSAT gets donations. We've also gotten free launches. Sometimes you can also get a really cheap launch on a brand new rocket, right? Mainly because the new rocket often blows up. And commercial, most commercial satellites buy insurance for their launches, but you can't buy insurance for no that would pay for that. So some people get free launches that way, but they also end up not making it work as well. Yeah. So the news is the antenna got repaired. The good thing was it turned out just the bolts had come, nothing was broken. So basically we just had a crew of students, we tilted it over, put the new bolts on, torqued them up, Loctited them, and
Is that a nice fiberglass cross piece?
no, it is not. It is not. Yeah. So that's the good news. But the bad news is, well, maybe it's the good news. So I also saw one of my slides showed the new building at Villanova, Johnston Hall. They basically built an addition on the side of our engineering building, which used to be known as CEAR, the Center for Engineering Education and Research, I guess is the old. Anyway, this new building named after Mr. Johnston is now operational. We moved in. It's really nice. One day, so the antenna was on the old part of the building that didn't get built. And I've been in touch multiple times with the builders because, for instance, they recoated the roof, and so they had to move the antenna slightly. So I've been in touch with them. But one day, this wall went up on the roof. See the metal behind it there? It's like a beauty.
Hides the
Yeah,
evaporator.
yeah, you can see. But anyway, I guess somebody thought it looked good to put up this thing. And when I saw it, I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Then I went up there and I'm like, oh, great. So they built the wall right alongside the antenna. Now, fortunately, it was pointing west at the time. The last satellite that we talked to had gone to the west. If it had been pointed to east, I don't know what they have built. Would they have cut it out and built it around it? But again, they never got in touch with me. So we can't rotate the antenna. Basically, if we move it, I don't know, could move about an inch or two in any direction without hitting. It's kind of remarkable that they built it without.
What's behind the walls? Is there like an evaporator or anything?
Yeah, there's various things.
Think about getting some sort of roam tower.
Yeah, and of course it's metal too. So it's like a shield, so.
So is it, I think that's called a parapet wall. So
Yeah, the little edge there, yeah.
I was doing that surveys for the service, I don't know where it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
If you could get it mounted to the wall.
What's that?
If you could get it mounted to the wall and get it up.
right. What we're hoping to do is just extend if we could just raise it up above it. Now, somebody's gonna be able to. Purpose was to hide under the antenna.
If you could bolt it onto one of the verticals, that would also be a lot more secure,
It could too.
rather than just the bricks holding it down.
Yeah, it could too.
I vote for the evaporators.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, so we're still in business. We actually operated this summer with a fixed position. We basically need a western satellite path. We can't do eastern passes. And the passes are much shorter because we can't track them. So anyway, so we're still in business. But anyway, you never know what's gonna happen. He's gonna throw curveballs at you.
But one thing about the M2s are they're a hell of a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Basically got nothing but or wind, so you could stick a big hole up there with the.
Yeah.
But get the AOR.
Right, yeah, definitely, yes. Yeah, we're looking to get free answers at some point.
Put it up over the fence. Your,
Oh, temporarily?
while you're
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah, you could, yeah, then lower it down for lower. Yeah.
Is it stability thing, like how high you go?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
not
not,
a very big base.
It's
Yeah.
which is what, 10 minutes.
yeah, 10 to 2 minutes, but then there's another one afterwards.
But he's all of them, what is there?
So I think the club has launched 4 items. And there was a question earlier about how you get approval. And so the answer is we reach out at least 3 weeks in advance to the FAA. There's a coordinator for the Eastern air traffic. And he has us fill in a spreadsheet. And they want to know, the main thing they want to know is it under 15 pounds? Because if the payload is under 15 pounds, then you don't need an actual license for it. And they also want to know what you're stringing it together with. And if you answer with string, right, basically butcher swine, then that's a good answer too. And so if you answer the right question to those two, then they basically give you approval to launch. And they then say that we're going to let air traffic know, and air traffic may contact you for additional details. In addition, they also, I guess sometimes in the past, we've actually filed what's known as a NOTAM. It's a notice to, it used to be notice to air, now notice to air mission.
Or airmen.
Yeah, so in the past, we've done that, where we've actually call them up and give them the information and it gets filed. And that way, pilots that are flying, they would print out the note for their route. So any pilot would, sifting through the file would see this, it's called an uncrewed aerial vehicle, a UAV. No, I think that the main safety thing is like if a light aircraft hits it, right, you want the propellers to simply cut the twine and pop the balloon. Whereas if you use wire, right, potentially that could damage the propellers. Do something.
Get approval in seconds.
Right,
And
yep,
Don't you have to keep it on the.
yeah,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Just think, yeah.
yeah,
400 feet, unless you're close to the airport, then it might be 200. Here.
yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah, I remember one time for our first launch, I was looking up some pilot maps. It was like a few days beforehand, and I looked it up, and the whole area was shown as red. And I looked up and it said airspace closed. Well, of course, Biden is in. And so the whole is really not that. So, and sometimes we've had air traffic ask us to call when we launch, to say a balloon's up, and to call again when it's down. This time, when we did it this last time, we didn't actually have to call anyone. None of the air traffic control actually asked us for any real time. So the balloons themselves are pretty big. You inflate them to be about this big, and when they, but that. Yeah, on the ground. And when they pop, they're about 15 feet in diameter. So they, what? Yeah, they're just lasers. Yeah, but again, it doesn't. Just go pop. And our payload is usually just a couple of pounds. Yeah, our payloads are very cheap. Yeah, Yeah, we fly different trackers. We have a commercial track, a spot track GPS tracker, which is sort of our ultimate backup. We have repurposed radio songs that the National Weather Service launches. They launch hundreds of them every day for meteorological data, and you can recover them and reflash the radio so it transmits on the ham radio bands. And they are actually tremendous hardware. The GPS on that is so good. They do a four FSK modulation, and we just using this little radio song. It just runs off of 2 AA batteries, and it's just in a little styrofoam encasement. We've tracked our balloons from launch to the ground with one ground station.
When you track them, you have a way to pop them or
No,
so that it deflated.
well, so that'll lead into my story here about last balloon. But any other questions about how you get authorization?
What frequency do you flash the radios?
Like 431. Yeah, there's a couple of standard frequencies, and there's a website called Hab actually run by some amateurs in Australia. There. And it basically you run the software in your Raspberry Pi and it uploads it, you get a nice graphical layer.
What do you have vertically accurate set your listening to, or we listen?
Yeah, we usually do a grand station. And I have a place on the 42nd floor in Center City, Philadelphia. So I usually put something in the balcony that has a really good view for that. So usually between the two, coverage.
When you did it, we done was,
Oh, 15 pounds. Pretty big.
but you're only running.
Exactly. Yeah. So we actually, we had a payload that we built to fly in the spring, but we ran out of time. We had difficulty getting approval to use the field. And so we weren't able to launch. So we started this school year with the payload ready to fly. And so we flew it in September, and we had to launch from a different part of campus. We launched from Sheehan Beach.
Over facing on Lancaster.
Yeah, it's really not good.
Yeah,
It's,
you don't have
it's
much
not,
clearance.
it's not big, there's buildings and trees. And anyway, we also made a mistake. Actually, we think we made 2 mistakes. That first of all, we used a water bottle filled with water as a weight. And you basically hook it onto the balloon and you fill it with the right amount of water for the amount of lift that you want. And then as you fill the balloon with helium, once the balloon is basically floating. But the wind was kind of gusty, so the balloon was bouncing around. So it was hard to tell when it was actually balanced. And also, I think we didn't put enough water in the balloon. And we discovered this immediately, because usually when we do the launch, you let go and it goes, and it just disappeared. This time it went. We're like, this is not good. And we weren't even sure it was going to clear the building, because it just went up so slowly, and then it hung over campus. It probably took 25 minutes to clear campus.
I remember watching from my office window, it's figured it was probably you launching something, and then I found you on campus a little later.
Yeah, anyway, we accidentally underfilled it. So our target altitude was 100,000 feet, 30,000 meters, which is the helium. Helium. Yeah. Actually, we actually get our helium because fast volume, things like that. So we just borrow their tanks and we people use $1,500 a helium.
This is what you get from Tom Brady fill the balloon.
So anyway, so it was 100,000 feet. We ended up being about 97,000 feet short. And we watched it slowly move across. And I thought it wasn't even going to cross the Cooper. I thought it was going to come down the finish. But it went up, it eventually reached 3,000 feet. And we got these amazing pictures from them. Right, like this one here, you can see Philadelphia in the distance. You know, normally you're up so high that everybody looks like, yeah, you're above the clouds or whatever. So I mean, it was kind of like a drone. So it was kind of amazing. There's another view there.
And thought of putting a propulsion here, rudders or something.
Yeah, not really. I suppose it's.
You can get some physics professor some sort of.
Yeah, no, so yeah, predicting different. Which way it's gonna be and where it's gonna end up, and usually the prediction is right, although obviously we did it. It went down over North Philly, and we got a call almost immediately. Basically, a kid saw it coming down in his neighborhood and chased it down the street and caught it. And so he called me up immediately because it's got a big sticker on it that says harmless scientific experiment. Yeah, we've recovered our payloads every time. Usually it finds the tallest tree in the neighborhood and gets stuck there. The student, we have a chase team. Yeah, the chase team takes off as soon as it goes. Well, so what we try to do is we try to overfill with helium, so it goes up, the balloon expands, and then it pops and comes down on your parachute. And we do it so it comes down in New Jersey before it ends up in the ocean. Right? Because if it didn't, and that was the other possibility, this was it was just gonna keep going. And it was just gonna drift out into the Atlantic, never to be heard from. But anyway, it came down in North Philly and actually comes back very quickly. And it was like new. It was completely, you know, normally when it's been up to 100,000 feet and it's had a parachute ride down, you know, everything is shattered. We've had, you know, SD cards broken, things like that. But so basically, we're gonna fly it again as a refurbished. Get a bottle of champagne. We're gonna give them a T-shirt. Yeah. Yeah. Once we actually, our balloon came down at a military base in New Jersey, which is interesting. But we actually got that. But I can't tell you. But we did get it.
They were on the internet, we got all shot.
So anyway, that's I don't know, we have a lot of fun with it. And it's kind of like a space mission, but it's all over in a month kind of thing. And instead of it costing, you know, $1,000, it just costs a few things. But it's got all, you know, much of the same elements of planning and setting up ground stations and trying to get telemetry and, you know, the same sort of disaster.
How would you know about witnessing this? Let's say
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, so, well, in this case, the last one I actually didn't. I don't think I let you know.
Yeah, I saw it out my window.
Yeah. Scheduling. State, but in the past, when we've been able to do that, we've gotten the word out to them. So we basically we're going to be transmitting, and we usually beacon APRS. And we also do close scans.
it's possible to be there.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
You can watch it disappear. Then it's gone. Yeah. But plus we are film.
Yeah. Independent.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It takes a while. It takes about 45 minutes.
Bring an HT, then you can listen in.
Yeah, we've had local hands receive just like scan pictures and so forth in the past. And also we have tracker links that you can just look at websites to see where it is in real time. And what you yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You can't share that. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've done 4 launches, so it's probably like the second or third one. Yeah, it just hopefully if we can get our scheduling to work, we can plan ahead. But as you know, as it's been, it's a pain to let people in and then have to cancel, you know, like immediately kind of thing. So remember that Ambisat happening in 2020 for my first presentation? Well, Ambisat's happening again in 2025, if you believe that. But anyway, and so what is Ambisat? It's basically a postage stamp size satellite. It's literally this big. And it's got a LoRa transmitter, which stands for long range. It's a Internet of Things, chirp spread spectrum modulation. You don't talk about signal to noise ratio, you talk about noise to signal ratio. It's super, you know, you can work with, you know, crazy low levels of power. So anyway, so we originally signed on to this. I think we started building these in 2019, and they were supposed to launch in 2020. They got held up because of regulatory reasons. Their initial plan was they were going to load up like 100 of these tiny things in a bigger satellite, launch the satellite, and then have them spit out into space once it was on orbit. But they couldn't get approval to that because the powers that be don't like tiny things that can't be tracked in orbit. You know, it's basically space junk.
They can't tell you how small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
super low orbit, right? So
it is. I mean, the argument is that you do it at like 300 kilometers, where things are only in orbit from. It's not like you're putting it into a high orbit somewhere. But again, yeah, a lot of stuff out there. But anyway, so reportedly they have approval. And now though they're not going to deploy. So they're going to load them up in the big CubeSat and they're going to stay in it. So it's not quite as easy. But anyway, but still it's going to go to space, hopefully. On the other hand, the rocket, I looked up the rocket.
hopefully not Boeing.
The British startup. Yeah, it's going to launch from Ambisat's a British company. I actually found out about when I was traveling in England. I read about it in basically the local news, and they had a Kickstarter, and I signed on to the Kickstarter and got the kit, and the students built.
Is that the one they build the engines by 3D printed?
I don't know. No, it's kind of, yeah, it is.
Is this the
Yeah, we actually have 3 of them. Yeah. Yeah, so actually one of them we flew on our first balloon. And then the other one we put we changed out the radio because it was programmed for European frequencies like 868 megahertz instead of 915, which is the unlicensed spectrum here. And then the third one there, we left the radio off so that we could put the right radio on before we ship it to them. So anyway, so the students are working on these. We're working on tonight.
So how big was the diameter?
It's like 1 inch.
1 inch inside?
Yeah. Yeah, they're tiny. It's just an Atmel chip, basically an Arduino processor, and then it's like an RF96, RF95 low chip. That's really all it is.
Do you have to seal them somehow? I mean, how do you protect them when you launch them and on them? Well, I guess they're gonna go into the satellite, so they're not unique.
Yeah, I mean, you have to test them for temperature variation, for outgassing, things like that. But yeah, you don't really have to protect them otherwise. Yeah. So anyway, so we'll see when I come back for a 5th time. Maybe we'll have something to say. But certainly, if it does launch, we'll definitely share the information so you can follow along. Our data should show up on a dashboard, basically. So our data will get transmitted using LoRa and then get read.
If these things are all stacked in the same CubeSat, are they trying to communicate using the same bandwidth?
I don't know how they're managing
Spread spectrum.
it. Is spread spectrum, but still, you don't really want 100 transmitters.
Spread over.
That's there are, yeah.
Type thing.
But the thing is, though, these frequencies are not licensed. So some of the issues. So, and no one really knows what, you know. We'll find.
But what are they going to sense? They find them.
Oh, they have to have a little, sensor. So I think ours is gonna do pressure, temperature, humidity, yeah, the BME 680. Mhm. Oh, and with that, yeah, that's, yeah. Right, yeah, we actually got it a lot cheaper during. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, so that's basically the video club, CubeSat club part. So now I've still got time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll do some demos here, and I'll just,
Presentation.
no, I'm gonna keep going.
Okay, it's for the online.
Oh, for the online,
People want to see it.
yeah. Yeah, I'm mostly gonna demo. I was just gonna start it, so it went.
So you can see it.
So this is called a CubeSat simulator. It's basically a model of a real nanosatellite, and it's called a CubeSat because of the shape. Basically a cube shape, and you stack them up. Real ones don't have rubber duck antennas on them. The antennas deploy or whatever, but you basically stack them all up so you can launch a whole bunch of them at the same time. So they're designed to be low cost to build, low cost to launch. But low cost to build means $20,000, $50,000. It's still, you know, it's a spacecraft, basically. But this is basically a fully functional nanosatellite, but it's not designed for space. It's designed for the classroom. It's designed for demonstrations. It's designed to put in people's hands. And this costs about $300 to build. Now, this would last about 1 second if you actually put it in space. Right. For one thing, the frame, it's plastic. It's 3D printed plastic. It's got a Raspberry Pi in it. Nothing about it is designed to handle, you know, range temperatures, you know, lack of atmosphere, all those kinds of things. It's just designed to be low cost to build, but it really has everything. It's got rechargeable batteries. It's got working solar panels on every side. It transmits real telemetry, and it uses the exact same formats that real satellites use. So when you have a ground station, like I have a little Raspberry Pi ground station there, it's basically the same software that AMSAT uses for our satellites. So you can do a lot of practice with it. And also you can use it for getting safety going, because it's like always there. It doesn't just fly over. Good for that. So anyway, so I'm going to launch it here. CubeSats, they have a remove before flight tag on it. Basically, these are designed to de-energize it prior to launch. So you get everything ready to go, and then right before launch, you go around and you remove all the remove before flight tags from it, and that basically preps it for launch, because you want everything shut off during the launch. And they're big and red because you don't want to miss them. Unfortunately, we missed a couple many years ago with disastrous consequences. So that's why they're big and red. So anyway, so I'm going to remove it here, which is going to power it up. So we'll see some LEDs there, and I'll turn on my little radio here so we can hear it when it comes up.
What frequency?
This is transmitting at 434.9 megahertz. So yeah, you can listen to it. Be live here in the room. Oh, here we go. So it started off with switch. So it started off with a CWID, and then it transmitted an APRS, which is the current mode. So, and you see it's got a green LED here telling you it's alive, and when it transmits, you'll see the blue LED blink. And in this mode, it transmits a packet about every 30 seconds or so. It also has a push button on it, which of course real satellites do not have a push button on. Oh, there it goes. It's transmitted there. So the frequency here. Get it next time. But it's good for doing demos because you can use the push button to put it into different modes there. So I'll just show a couple of slides. Switch back to that. So at AMSAT, we use this for our outreach. And it's also used in a number of university programs. There we go. Now we go. It's there. And this packet has basic telemetry like battery voltage, battery current, and it also has a gyro in it, so it transmits rotation and acceleration in 3 axes. And it also has a BME 280, so it'll record the pressure, temperature, altitude, and humidity as well.
What's the way,
I'm not sure actually.
you can put it on a balloon?
Yeah, people have flown them on balloons. Yeah, I mean, for a balloon, you wouldn't fly solar panels, and you wouldn't use rechargeable batteries. So you could get rid of a lot of the parts. But yeah, we've flown them on balloons. Other people have flown them on balloons. The basic default is just it's about 10 milliwatts, the transmitter. But we now have an FM board on it. And with that, if you take out the offender, you can get 500 milliwatts. And 500 milliwatts is plenty for a balloon when you're up nice and high and there's no obstruction. You can receive that for a fair way. So yeah, so this is what it looks like inside. It's got 3 custom boards with a Raspberry Pi plugged into it. And what we do is the project is fully open source. So all the code is open sourced, all the hardware is open source. So you can download the fabrication files and get it made. At AMSAT, we actually get them made in bulk with a few of the surface mount components on there. And so you can buy these boards for $35, basically. And that way you can buy just one, because when you get boards fabricated, you know, like 5 is the minimum. So you have to get 15 boards to build one. And then you need a couple $100 of parts, and about 8 to 10 hours of soldering and 3D printing, and you can build your own CubeSat simulator. So there've been about 200 of them built so far, based on what we know. And that's the Raspberry Pi. It's also got a camera in it, so we do slow scan TV. It's kind of fun for demos because you set it up like a selfie cam where people make faces in front of it, and then it transmits the picture that comes in line by line over the radio. The main board itself, it's actually got a Raspberry Pi Pico, and it's got an FM transceiver board. It's also got a quick connector for adding new sensors to it.
What else do these fly?
Well, so real CubeSats typically about 500 kilometers is where they go, which puts them into orbit for about 2 to 3 years before they burn up. Of course, the CubeSat simulator should stay on your desk.
Yeah.
So it's got the solar board's kind of interesting. We have these current and voltage sensors for each of the sides of the CubeSat. And so one of the fun things we do is if you put it in front of on a turntable and spin it like it does in space, you see the current and voltage peaks when the sun or your lamp is facing. And so you can get the very realistic telemetry of what you get in space. And when I have my students build them, we do an exercise where I put it on a cart, we launch it, and then I wheel it out into the hallway where they can't see it. And then they receive the telemetry and they look at the data and try to figure out what's going on, which of course is what you do with a real satellite. What the heck's happening?
You said they have gyroscopes in there?
Yes, for that reads the acceleration.
Yeah.
For each read.
Rotation.
Yep.
Do you laser gyroscope? Or
They're
Solid state.
yeah, solid state. They're MEMS. It's just a little chip. Yeah.
Chip.
Yeah. And of course we use like these solar panels here. These are like the cheapest ones you can buy. They're like $1.50 each. A real CubeSat, those panels would be $50 to $100 each. But again, it's not made for space. Okay, so let's do a demo here. I'm actually going to demo one of the latest capabilities that we've added is actually very simple command and control. So you can change modes by using the push button, but I'm going to change modes here by transmitting here. And by the way, anybody played with these Quansheng radios? Anybody ever heard of these? It's like the dreaded Baofangs, except these are fully programmable. You can flash your own firmware onto them, and people have reprogrammed them to do all kinds of things. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Amazing. These are $25. So you can buy like, you know, dozens of them.
And they transmit everywhere all at the same time.
Okay, so first I'm just going to transmit using DTMF. So I'm just gonna key up and I'm gonna say mode 2 and hit pound, and we'll see if it changes modes. If it changes modes, we'll see this green LED blink and it'll shut down, and in 30 seconds we'll hear a different. So let's see. Demos never work. So let's see what happens here. So if I key up to pound, it blinks.
Yeah.
All right, it worked. Amazing. Okay, so it takes about 30 seconds. And there it goes. So that just changed mode. This is what's known as data under voice mode. It's actually a 200 bit per second continuous data stream. This is what most of the Fox satellites used to do. And this sound was actually going on at the same time as people's contacts. Because most radios filter out these low frequencies. In this case, it's kind of loud because of the way, so you can hear. So yeah, so that is working. The firmware that I have programmed here actually transmits APRS. So I'm going to try transmitting an APRS packet here. Let's see if it works. If this works, it should cause the blue light to go off. It should just pause the telemetry, basically turn the beacon off. So let's see if that works.
Wait.
Let's try it again. Still. Probably. Sorry about that. Okay, so that worked. So that was actually I can turn it up here so you can hear the APRS packet. So now I can turn it back on. Try again.
Never works.
Yeah.
Very.
Okay.
Can you send commands to it with APRS?
Yes, that's what I'm doing here.
Or
No, that was APRS. You hear it? Yeah. It's interesting. Every other command is working. That sounds like a bug. That's too regular to be.
I'm just wondering whether as an embedded system supports the cloud. This would be a great laboratory for them.
It's true. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, so having command and control is some of the new features that we've added. We also have made it now so that it is extensible. So this is known as a 1U, basically 1 unit, because it's 10 centimeters in every direction. This is a 2U, so it's basically 20 centimeters in one direction. You could also build a 3U, which is what AMSAT's next series of satellites called Gulf that will be launching soon. They're actually going to be 3U, so it's going to be 3 times as small. So we have a new frame piece here. It's basically a connector. We made our frame so that it's modular. So you just join another one on. And one of the advantages is you can use bigger packs. And also with this one actually has 2 batteries to make it last. Anyway, so we're having fun.
So did you? So you get those up? Spending themselves in all sorts of random directions.
Yeah, they just tumble. Now, some of the bigger ones have the ability to orient themselves. They have things called reaction wheels, where you basically spin these wheels and it generates torque. Others use the magnetic field. They have magneto-torquers. So they induce a current and that produces a force to do them. The AMSAT Fox satellites, they just did something really simple. They put magnets on the four corners. And those magnets interact with the magnetic field. And so it slows the spin and also makes it so that it tends to align itself as it goes. So there are very simple things you can do, but otherwise they just float around. They're just like baseballs floating around.
I'll take this the wrong way, but I lived through phase 3D.
Yeah.
Well, you said you're at 500 miles.
I'm sorry?
You said you're at 500 miles.
500 kilometers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big.
Correct. There. There.
Correct. Yeah, but there is some though.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So they gradually get lower. Yeah, reaction wheel, or magneto torquer, where you can actually control this. Because some CubeSats have a directional antenna. And so when they're downlinking, they actually want to aim it at a particular location. Oh yeah, definitely adds weight, complexity. Yeah, generally they're the bigger ones at those, because you can't fit them.
Yeah.
There's also the opposite trend. There's CubeSats called pocket cubes, and they're actually 1/4 the size. So they're like the size of a golf ball. It's tiny. And you can fit a whole satellite in a tiny little space like that. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. Students like building them. They like 3D printing them and soldering them. We're also starting at AMSAT. We're starting to sell kits where each of the boards is fully assembled, and then all you have to do is basically put it together like Lego. So you have to stack it up and put the frame together and connect everything. So we're hoping that's going to get more of them into people's hands. Yeah. So I teach introductory courses at Villanova. So I teach the one course I teach. It's called ECE Freshman Projects. So it's their freshmen. It's their first class in their major, and instead of hitting them over the head with math and everything like we do for the other 3 years, we give them fun things to do, and we basically just give them a pile of parts and say, "Here, build this." And we actually do it in a structured way. We have them break up into teams. They each build responsible for one board or one subsystem. They have to build it, they have to test it, then they do integration testing with the others, and then they finally put it all together. So yeah, it's kind of a fun problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you do the introductory, well, are you done?
I just think, last time, some time for you,
Yeah.
about doing stuff at like high school or middle school or
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
So it's still being done.
Yeah, but it's been in a few high schools. Yeah, it's harder in high schools.
Yeah.
But yeah, some probably 4 or 5 high schools have used it. There's a graduate class at Johns Hopkins where they're ordering these board sets by the tens basically for their students, which is fun.
Since you teach the introductory course, you also give them the look to your left, look to your right, why you're not gonna be here at the end of the semester. I remember that's
So yeah, hopefully when I come back next time, talk about balloon flights, the AMBASAT space mission, you'll see the 12U CubeSat simulator. And also we have, AMSAT operates a loaner program, so we have, basically a simulator, a ground station, a turntable, a lamp, all in a shipping kit. And, so if you have an event or you want to take it into a classroom somewhere, we just ship it to you for free for a couple of weeks and to use it. So there's, I have 4 of these loaners and they're out pretty much all the time, going to different events and places.
There's an awful lot of serious model rocketers like home.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they do some serious telemetry. Yeah, yeah, they definitely do. Now, they obviously have, weight constraints and size constraints and things like that.
The form factor would be a lot longer, like these one pieces, you have tubular,
Well, it would be something.
but that would fit.
Come on, guys, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's also things called sounding rockets, which are basically suborbital rockets that scientists launch, and so quite a few student groups build and launch those, which would be pretty cool.
Multiple from Wallops.
Oh, yeah.
Schools.
I think we've worked with any in the area. We've done a couple of maker fairs in the area, and like robotics events for high school students. But yeah, no, the high schools I've worked with have been in DC, Texas, Georgia, and there's also one in New England as well. Yeah, typically they tend to be like private schools, where they often have like a teacher, like an engineering teacher in high school, which is pretty cool. And, typically you don't want students, you don't want this to be their first soldering experience. You want them to start with the blinky lights, where they blob the solder on, short everything, do that on something first. But like for my students, this is their second soldering project. And actually this version now, we actually do the boards as surface mount. So we have a reflow oven, sensors to do that. So yeah, it gives them an experience of what real, because phones aren't manufactured with people soldering individual wires kind of thing. It's all done with reflow.
Most are fibers.
Other questions? All right, let's thank Alan for a great presentation. All right, thank you everyone for joining us online. We will see you next month.
To the students that do this.